Hello interwebs, welcome to Let's Fix Computers. I've got an Acer laptop here. This is it's an Aspire 3 something. It's an Aspire A315. And as you can see, the hinges on this thing are completely wrecked. It's being held together with tape, and it's in pretty bad shape. It's very broken. So we're going to rebuild the display assembly on this today by replacing most of it. I should have all the parts on hand. I've preemptively purchased a new top lid, which is this bit with Acer on it, a new front panel, and I don't think we need new hinges, so I'm gambling that that's all I need. Let's get cracking. I'm going to start by just removing all of this tape, and we've got to very carefully disassemble it and get down to a position we can work from. I hate it when stuff is glued together like this. It's just horrible. This is double-sided tape, just with half the side not removed. I might just cut all of this, actually. There we go. And be careful not to go through any cables. Right, now we can actually... Oh, can we lift this open? Just looking at what's holding us up, trying to decide. Okay, I think I can get in and pull the hinges open with my thumbs here. Here we go. There we go. Alright. So the important bit at this point is determining... We don't care about the bezel, we've got a new one of those. Are the cables damaged? No. So this is in really bad condition, but the cables are okay, and I think the LCD is marked, but I don't think it's broken. Have we got any battery power? No, that was too much to ask for. I might just grab a charger and turn this thing on and just double check that the LCD is okay. Because obviously, if the LCD is broken, then that tells me I need to get another LCD on the way for this before we can continue. BRB. Charger. Power. I'm going to spam F2 to get into BIOS. There we go. Yeah, okay. This screen will probably clean up reasonably well. There's going to be some scuffing in the bottom right. But I think that will be tolerable. There's no real important information in the bottom right. For example, if you had a solid bar of dead pixels along the very top of the screen, that would be covering up menu bars and stuff like that. But a bit of scuffing in the bottom right where the system tray is, no one cares. So this is entirely acceptable. This thing has got an i5 in it, and it's got 8 gigs of RAM as well. So yeah, it's actually not too shabby. Don't know if that still has a hard drive in it, but yeah, this laptop is worth saving. You never know what you're going to get with these Acer Aspire laptops. They can be anything from absolute potatoes to, hey, that's actually a lot better than I expected. Right, power down. Let's carry on disassembling. So what we need to do now is get the back of the laptop off so we can disconnect these wires. So I'm going to close these hinges so it'll fold. Flip the screen back over and flip the whole thing over. Try and take off a bit more of this nonsense. Yeah. Just... Yeah. Screws. Come on, crunch, 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 yum, yum, yum. Oh, what? Ooh, what is holding me up the front here? Okay. There we go. Good grief. One back panel. Good. Right, now we've got that off. We'll all of this will get cleaned up. but we'll come back to that when we start reassembling. Let's do some detaching first. Okay, that display cable is already halfway out. I snagged that there. Where's the battery? It's there. So we really want to get that battery disconnected as soon as possible, because on some laptops, but not all, the backlight is always hot, which means if the battery or the charger is plugged in, there is always power into the backlight. It just might not be full switch on voltage. And what that means is that as you disconnect this cable at the back here, if you accidentally brush the backlight power lines against a ground pin as you unplug the cable, you'll short the backlight rail out and blow the backlight fuse at best. So really important to disconnect the battery before unplugging a screen on a laptop. You won't always get caught out. 9 times out of 10 you'll probably get away with it. But the one time you don't, you'll wish you hadn't been a fool or something. Anyway, that's the wireless antennas. That's that. Good. So now the body can come away from the laptop. There we go. So I'll stick this to one side and we'll give this a good old clean up when we've rebuilt our display assembly. Actually, I'm going to bring that back in because I want to take the hinges off of it as well, because the hinges should be on the display assembly, not on the laptop. Now you might be saying to yourself, aren't those hinges broken? And normally you'd be right. Usually these strut bars going up this side of the display will be attached to the hinges, and they will normally break when the hinges let go. But on this particular design, it appears that they're not actually attached, they're just sandwiched in. Ugh. Something else I've also noticed though is that we're completely missing all of the screws, which is a problem. So I'm going to have to raid my spare screws and hope that I've got some that I can use. Alright, hinges acquired. We'll need those. Now let's get the rest of the bezel off, and we need to get the LCD out. I'll just brush some of this schmutz off. Right, and I don't need to be gentle with this bezel because we have a replacement one, but it's easier to take it off if it doesn't break. There we go. And our LCD is attached. Ooh, is that glued in? It is. Okay. Let's undo these two screws and just see if this comes out. How lucky am I? I'm lucky. Good. So the LCD on this laptop is glued to these strut bars. However, because we're taking the strut bars out as well, not a problem. If we were replacing the LCD, we'd need to pull these apart. And as you can see, well, kind of anyway, there's glue up there. So, yeah, no problem. Right, I don't need to disconnect that. However, I do need to unplug it from the webcam. We're probably going to want this webcam as well, actually. We'll have to start having a look at our new top case in a minute and determine how much we need to take out of this. Right, here is my top case, which looks like it's an original part. Don't know how much I trust some stickers, but I always buy parts from eBay, and whatever shows up, shows up. They're usually good enough that you couldn't, if they're not genuine parts, you wouldn't be able to tell. That looks pretty good. Okay, it does not have antennas or the webcam, so we're going to swap those over. However, while we're here, we'll just double check, and all the screw holes do line up, so we know we've got the correct panel, which is also nice. And it's also got the foam in place already as well. which is a nice to have. It's not super critical, but it just helps protect the back of the LCD. Cool. There's one antenna. Right, and I'm just going to lever this guy out. There we go. Watch out, because these webcam boards are very, very bendy. And if you bend it, it will probably break. One webcam. All right, we're done with this. Goodbye, trashy old back panel. Good, right. Now we can start assembling a nice new display assembly from the bits that we've got. So I'm going to start out by putting that webcam in. There's a bit of sticky back there. And there's two plastic pegs sticking up for alignment. So that ensures that you've got it right in the correct place and that the lens will line up perfectly with the hole on the bezel. So that is in place. Then, who was the longer one? Was it the black on the right? Yeah, black on the right, white on the left. So the white one goes in first. And was this going up and over or under? I think that was going under. I've forgotten already. It's always a good idea to take pictures to avoid this conundrum. I could stop recording and check my video. However, usually if you go looking, you'll figure out a route that the wire fits in. Now we've got to the edge here, we've got some helpful bends that show us exactly where it was going. Wireless antenna's fitted. Let's put this to one side and have a look at that LCD now. So I'm just going to try and wipe the worst off of this before I put it back in. I shall grab, there it is. I shall grab some Tesco window and glass. This is ordinary glass cleaning spray. Store brand should be fine. There are a couple out there, specifically Windex, I think, which are probably a bit too aggressive. This is a water vinegar based cleaner, which is enough to have some cleaning agency on it and actually clean stuff up, but not so much that it's going to damage anything. I've been using Tesco window and glass for years and never had problems with it. If you're a bit uncertain, then you can always spray directly onto the cloth instead. Either is fine. And I'm not looking for a perfect finish right now. I just want to get the worst off of it while it's on a nice flat surface and I can get right up to the edges of the screen. Also gives me a rough idea now on how much of a problem that graze in the corner may or may not be, along with any other scratches that are here. So like this might be a good opportunity where I might spot something horrifying that might make me think, oh, actually, you know what, let's replace the panel as well. Oh, you know what, I think that graze has just vanished as well. There's a bit of a mark there, but come on, that's a lot better than it was. I didn't expect that to come off so easily. Excellent. So I'm going to rest this roughly in place, and we need to route the display cable along the bottom and then up the left-hand side to the webcam. If we have any issues with picture stability after this, my first guess would be that this cable has been damaged from the strain. But we'll cross that bridge when we get there. For now, we're just going to stick this guy back in. Now we're going to put these hinges back in place, and I'm just going to give these a brush down first. Just using a toothbrush just to brush dust and grime and such like off. And there are various folks out there, all are big believers in re-greasing or just loosening the hinges slightly. These ones are actually adjustable, so you can see we've got a nut on the back of them. So what I could do is I could just use a pair of pliers and just take out just a tiny bit from there, which will just loosen the hinge off a little bit. And this just reduces the chance of future damage. This isn't something I often do, and not all hinges allow you to do it either. A lot of hinges will just be fixed. But given it's safe to assume that the hinge will get stiff with, well, it may get stiff with age, which can lead to the hinges breaking in the first place. So I don't think it's a terrible idea. Right, and those are going to go either side like that. And now comes the point where I need some screws. So I'm going to put in the top 2 screws, and then I'm going to go and raid my spares. Right, I've found some replacement screws of varying matchingness. 2 of these are a little on the long side, but I've done a test fit and they're not too long, which is important. If your screws are too long, you can easily long screw damage this. And what that will do is the screw will go all the way through the metal insert, and it will make a bump in the plastic on the other side, which will be very noticeable and is not repairable. It is only cosmetic, but it's very embarrassing if you long screw damage fittings like this. So be careful with that. The giveaway is that the screw will suddenly go very tight if you've hit the bottom and you're starting to long screw damage. So if your screwdriver suddenly starts fighting you to do that last tighten, just back it out and check what you're doing. We have some screws now, so we can now put our hinges in place. You know, I've lost my nerve with these long boys. I'm taking those out. That doesn't feel good to me. They look too long. They feel too long. I think they're too long. Time to go rummaging again. I'm 99% certain there's nothing more to find in the HP drawer, so I'm going to check a different one. Okay, I can't find any more of these with this particular thread on. I think this is an M2.5. I've got loads with M2 on them, but obviously that is too thin. So yeah, these wide flat ones with the M2.5 seems to be quite an uncommon size. I think they're reasonably common in hinges, but the issue is the hinge screws. These are the ones that never get left out of the laptop. Whereas you see these as just general fasteners in various places in laptops. Often in very weak places where often the fastenings are broken, so the screw doesn't get put back in. Anyway, let's Dremel these down. Dremel or equivalent rotary tool and Dremel reinforced cutting discs. It's your best friend if you need to bodge something. There we go, finally. That was a lot of effort just for some missing screws. But we can now move on to the new bezel. Which is taped into the box. Okay. Acer. Oh no! Oh, the bezel is the wrong size. Okay. Let's keep going because the bezel can be fitted afterwards. And I really want to get this video done. I don't want to hold up this repair on account of not being able to video it. We can probably put the bezel on afterwards, so we'll go this far, and then at the end of it, I can point out how you just clip it on. Right, okay. Right, so this guy's doing okay, to be honest. If you really want to, you can replace that thermal paste. I really doubt that needs doing, to be quite frank. Like, if we want to be anal about it, I can just see how that's actually still quite malleable under the screwdriver there. There's going to be no issues with that. If this was solid and powdery when I poked it with a screwdriver, I'd be like, okay, we should probably change that out, but this is fine. The fan is not fine. I'm going to take that out the back and air compressor this out, and that will also just blow out the other residual dust in here as well. The fan didn't respond that well to the air compressor. We got the residual stuff out, but the blades are a bit caked on, so I'm just going to do those manually with the toothbrush here, just to get the worst of. There we go. That is more than adequate. Right, I'm just going to carefully overlay the base of the laptop. Normally, of course, we'd have the top bezel to provide protection here, but we don't have that, so I'm just going to be very gentle when moving things around. And now we can see that the cables are just sitting in place, and everything does actually line up nicely. So I'll route these cables in, and we can screw the hinges back on. Battery back in place. This thing still has a hard drive in it, but it does actually have an M.2 slot. So that's a great candidate for an SSD upgrade right there. Or at some point this is going to fail, in which case you'd rip it out and stick a 2.5-inch SSD in there anyway. Because they're cheap, like the budgie. Now, to deal with all of the sticky residue left behind by the duct tape, I'm going to use some isopropyl alcohol just to ease that off. So I'm just going to spritz the bottom here. And this is probably going to take several attempts to do. So I won't show you all the details. And we're just going to basically just start rubbing away at that. Don't use your nice cloths for this. Use kitchen towel or something like that, because the sticky goop will just gum up your cloth. So we're just going to wipe this down. And when you wipe it down, you will also dry it out, and then it'll go sticky again. So you'll probably need several attempts at this. This is going remarkably well, actually. That's coming off a treat. You might find that it's more effective to spray the alcohol onto the tissue. I often find that helps, because the tissue won't dry out as easily as the plastic will. So it helps you get more out of the alcohol you sprayed on. However, that's actually come off really nicely. I was expecting more of a fight there. Right, now we've done that, you'll notice we've got some markings here where the alcohol has hit. It looks like it stained the plastic, but this is just a residue. And this is one of the reasons why alcohol, it's good at dissolving certain things like glues, but it's not actually a very good cleaning agent because it tends to leave marks behind. So now we've actually removed the guff there. I'll now use the window and glass again. I'll spray directly onto the cloth this time, and we should just be able to wipe this into a sheen. And a toothbrush, just get those last little bits of stuff out. There you go, and as you can see, that's come up nicely. The toothbrush has just left a mark there again, but come on, it's the bottom of the laptop. It's a never-ending battle. Give it a week and the customer will make it look filthy again, I'm sure. Let's put the screws back in. There we go. Right, I'll clean the top of the laptop for good measure as well. We're now reaching a point where we're basically done except for putting on the front bezel. And you can see here where on this particular laptop, it actually opens 180 degrees. So it exposes the entire front. So it's very easy to just stick the bezel on without having to remove the display assembly. So what I'll do is I'll order the correct bezel, and when it arrives, I just have to go click, 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 and it's done. Suspend your disbelief and pretend that this looks beautiful and rebuilt. However, the hinges now work. So, as I say, Please suspend your disbelief for me. There we go. Like I bought one. But yeah, use your imagination. We get a new one, we click it into place, and we're done. There we have it, everyone. But at the very least, we're now done. This laptop has now gone from being an absolute wreck to a completely viable refurbishment job. And as we noted when we had it apart, it wants an SSD, but it's got plenty of room for an SSD. And with that, wow, that's an 8th Gen i5. This thing's not even that old. I hadn't even noticed that. It's an 8th Gen. Huh. Yeah, this thing is actually a really good laptop. It's just, man, it just needs some extra stuff in it. Stick an SSD in this thing, and this will be a really nice daily driver. Oh well. Well, that's all I got for you today, everyone. So yeah, use your imagination with that front bezel, and I'll see you guys next time. As always, thank you for all of your support, and yeah, next time. Bye.